It's so hot in here.
I dress lightly. I was gonna put on a sweatpants.
Yeah, I walked in, it was like a sauna.
Oh, I bet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let me see.
All right, I have 7:30, so let's get started with tonight's meeting. I'd like to welcome all of you to tonight's bee competition. Before we get going, is there anyone here that has never been here before, here for the first time? Could you stand up and introduce yourself and let us know why you're here?
I'm Karen Ruth, and I'm here with my son Eric Rothstein, and I'm just visiting from Alaska.
Nice. Nice. Welcome. Anyone else here for the first time? Okay. All right. Well, let's get started then. Richard is not here tonight, and so he has asked me to fill in for him. My name's Mike Kopkas. For those, I know a lot of you, but there's some faces that I don't recognize. So what I'm going to do is kind of run through these announcements, and then we'll introduce the judges, although there's only one that's here today. One real judge, right. And then we'll get going with the competition. So again, just some upcoming Friday night meetings. March 15th, next week, we have a photojournalism competition. It's not a competition. I keep calling it that. But you bring in your photojournalistic images. Remember, there's certain rules with photojournalism. You're really not allowed to do any major editing. And the idea of photojournalism is each picture is supposed to tell a story. We ask that if you submit them online, you submit comments with them. If you're here that night, which is the preferred way, be prepared to just comment on your photo. They're not judged that night. At the end of the year, you're allowed to submit 3 of those images for the year-end competition. So, but the photojournalism itself is not judged. All right. Okay, that's not working. That's weird. I'll do it the hard way. And that's not working either. Hang on a minute. Oh, I know why. I know what the problem is. There it goes. Okay. Cursor's on the other screen, that's why. All right. In March 22nd, we have our print nature competition. This was one that was rescheduled due to, I think it was bad weather, if I'm not mistaken. So we will be holding that on March 22nd, and that will be the final competition of the year. That's a print competition, so your prints are due about 7:25 that night, at least by then. March 22nd, the pre-competition talk is going to be given by Eric Wethington on cameras, bodies, and lenses. Oh my. Eric works for Dodd Camera, so he's very familiar with the equipment. I imagine he'll be bringing some equipment in to kind of show you. So that's done while the images are being judged. March 29th, we have Joe Edelman coming back. It's a Zoom presentation. I guess he gave one a couple of weeks ago, and this one's called The Art of Seeing. So Joe, if you've never seen Joe, he's kind of a character, very good presenter, comes up with some interesting ideas. So that is a Zoom presentation. There will be something sent out to all of the members with the link to getting into that Zoom presentation. So kind of watch for that. And we have another Zoom presentation on April 5th, and this one's going to be an intro to phone photography. I know Richard is planning to put together a phone photography class at some point in time if there is enough interest in it. And so we're trying to gauge the interest. And so one of the things we're going to do is bring in Greg on a Zoom call to kind of talk about phone photography. So, and then we have an upcoming field trip on April 5th, the piston-powered Autorama. Again, there'll be a notice that's sent out about that at some point in time. So if you're interested in that, all the details will be in that announcement. We are looking for volunteers. This is a volunteer organization. None of us are paid. None of us, this isn't a job for any of us, although sometimes it feels like it. But we are always looking for volunteers. And in particular, here are some things that we're looking for. We want a co-chair of the competitions committee, someone to work with another person to kind of handle these competitions, basically getting judges and whatever else is needed for that. We're looking for people that have interest and ability to do website management. We do have a brand new website that's, we put a lot of time into it, and we're looking for people to help, make changes to it and maintain it. And then phone photography instructors. If you're really good with phone photography, again, if you're interested in doing some teaching, that would be great. Just let us know. If you go to the information tab under the volunteers tab on the CPS website, so you can get some more information on each of those positions. We have a mentor-mentee night on April 2nd. Again, there'll be more information on that on the website and by email, but we do have a mentor program that's open to any active member in the club. So we're looking for mentors, and if you're interested in being menteed, okay, that night we'll be kind of going over the whole program, and you'll get a chance to meet the people who have volunteered to be mentors. It's a great way to learn photography, and you have somebody helping you out along the way. We do have a phone competition, okay? On May 3rd, we're going to do a competition where all the photos must be taken on a phone. So even though we haven't, the course or the Zoom presentation next week kind of whets your appetite. So if you're familiar with using your phone, or if you want to play with it and try and figure things out, you can submit photos. And again, there'll be more information on this down the road a little ways, okay? All right, so just to be aware, you can watch this and most of our Friday evening meetings at your convenience on the CPS YouTube channel. If we have an outside speaker, a lot of times they don't like us to put it out on YouTube, and so those won't be available except for members only. But otherwise, meeting like tonight's meeting will be available on the CPS YouTube channel. There's a link on the website homepage, or you can go into YouTube and search for Cleve Photographic, and then when you get there, click on Live. All right, and you can subscribe to our channel and choose to be notified whenever a new video is posted. So we have videos from meetings going back quite a ways. All right, so that's it for the announcements. So let me at least introduce the one judge that's here. Well, the two that aren't here, David Tripp has done some judging for this competition, and Jackie Sayeski. All right, Marge, did you want to say anything about the bee competition at all before we get going?
Hi, I'm Mark Brady, the chairperson of the bee competition. Welcome to the last competition of the competition year. And as Mike said, we have three judges tonight. Nancy Ballack is here with us. Jackie Sayeski and David Tripp could not be here, so I will be reading Jackie's comments and Mike will be reading. I'm sorry?
David's.
I do, yeah. Can't hear me? Oh, okay. I will be reading Jackie's comments, and Mike will be reading David's comments for tonight.
Okay. And then Nancy, you want to introduce yourself? Say something about yourself? Is your
Hi.
mic on?
Yes.
Okay.
That I've got. I'm Nancy Ballack. Okay. I'm Nancy Ballack. I'm the instructor for the environmental portraiture class, and I'm also I am the photographer for Hale Farm. And tomorrow is supposed to be the first day. They're having their Maple Sugar Festival, and it's supposed to rain like crazy tomorrow, and then Sunday it's supposed to snow. So maybe next weekend, if you guys want to go, it's just fun to get out. Kids always have such a good time out there, and they're always having fun. So, okay, thank you.
All right. let's get started with the competition. So our first image.
Okay. Panning can be very difficult to do, but the maker of this photo did a wonderful job of capturing the clarity, excitement, and speed of this motorcycle competitor. He is incredibly sharp against the blurred background, and the way he is leaning into a curve shows the intensity of his concentration on the track. The maker of this photo left room on the right-hand side of the photo for the rider to visually continue on with his race. Congratulations to the maker of this photo for an excellent panning job.
And the title is number 839 by Jordan Tetzel, 24 points, second place.
All right, David says, this is a nice image of a house cat. The photo is sharp and the detail in the fur is great. While I like a tight crop, I would give it a little more room on the top and also on the right. It would give the photo a little more room to breathe and it wouldn't be quite as centered. Nice job.
This is entitled Abby by Wendy Kohler, 23 points, third place. And Jackie says, fabulous focus on what may have been a difficult moving subject. The busy bee's front wing, eye, and body elements are all tack sharp. His capture of pollen on the legs helps to tell a nice story. The back wing and antenna are out of focus, which is a bit unfortunate. Depth of field drops off very quickly in the macro world. This can be dealt with much easier on subjects that are inanimate. There are a few edge elements that are distracting. They might be handled with just a tighter crop or by using cloning or content-aware fill. The items pulling me from the bee are the bright out-of-focus petal and leaf in the front right corner and the little bit of petal on the left eye. Otherwise, compositionally, this is well balanced, properly exposed, and rendered with realistically slightly saturated colors that you might find in spring. And the title is Bee Competition by John Fondran, 24 points, second place.
The maker of this photo chose an interesting as well as clever way to present this photo of raindrops on a bright surface. If the maker had chosen to present this photo with hundreds of ordinary raindrops on the surface, our eyes would have had a hard time determining where to focus our attention. Instead, the maker intelligently placed the one fat, elongated raindrop in the lower middle part of the photo as if it were sliding down the metallic surface. A possible suggestion, if the maker would consider it, would be to crop this photo vertically to eliminate a few hundred raindrops on either side of the sliding dollop of water. One other thing, the tail of that dollop is in sharp focus, while the front is slightly out of focus, creating a shallow depth of field. This was a thought-provoking photo to judge.
And this is Beware the Slithering Glob by George Klepitz, 20 points.
Okay, David says, this is a unique angle looking at a bird. While I applaud your attempt to look at something from a different direction, this doesn't work. It comes across as a shape on too much of a black background. Without the bird's eyes, there isn't much impact. I would encourage you to continue to look for the unique approach to a subject, though. So often we see the same theme over and over. Keep at it.
And this is Blue-Footed Booby by Jessica Cohen Crowley, 21 points. Okay, and Jackie says, photography is one area where playing with food, I guess, isn't frowned upon. I like your little subjects. All very different from each other, aren't they? I think overall you did a nice job lighting the blueberries. I am able to see texture, highlights, and shadows in them, which is important to show their shape and uniqueness. There are a couple highlights that seem a bit overexposed, particularly on the middle berry. Perhaps sliding the highlight slider in Lightroom or Camera Raw filter in Photoshop, you could tone those down. I am a bit confused on what the berries are sitting on in the background. The shadow helps to ground them, but I'm finding the lack of texture or shadow behind them troublesome. This would be a fun image to try and get creative with, adding texture to the background. Just something subtle to add a bit of to add a bit more depth to the piece. Generally, odd number of objects create a stronger composition. I like how you were a bit creative on achieving that by having the two odd stacks, even though your final elements is an even number of berries. I can see this hanging nicely in a kitchen. And this is Blueberry Balance by John Fondran, 20 points.
The maker of this photo has some wonderful detail of the eagle's plumage. The exposure of the white feathers is nicely done. There are no blown out areas, and the tonal range of shadows and light is great. That narrow highlight on the eagle's beak draws the viewer's attention to the impressive possibility of the power and destruction of that beak could inflict on its prey. The lighting and detail on the beautiful bird are really nice. The soft, shallow depth of field creates a visually pleasant background. One minor suggestion, if the maker would consider it, would be to slightly crop in on the right-hand side so that the eagle's beak would not be dead center in the photo. Nicely done.
And this is Braving the Cold by Andrew Garoy, 21 points.
David says, this is a pretty picture of some bold Christmas lights. Technically, you did a great job. The reflections are great. The photo is sharp. This is not an easy image to capture at night. From the point of the composition, odd numbers are supposed to create interest. The problem I have is that it is a photo of some bold shapes on a black background. This is beyond your control, but if there was something more in the background to create some more context or more interest, it could be a much stronger photo.
This is Christmas Pond by Renee Nally, 19 points. Okay, so Jackie says, very cool moment to capture the eagle being vocal. Tells a good story. Nice, simple composition where nothing is distracting. I really enjoy your crop on this. Even though he is not in flight, it's still good to leave some space around him. Your point of view looking up gives a nice sense of power and awe to your subject without creating a sense of tension. Technically, I think this is a very good capture. The visible eye looks sharp and even has a catch light. I think there might be some room to improve this in the midtones, especially in the feathers. They appear a bit flat. Perhaps a curves adjustment might boost that midtones area in his chest. Maybe some dodging the highlights a bit more and burning the shadows on the whites and creams would add a bit more depth to his head and tail feathers. But really a wonderful bird portrait. And this is Eagle Squeal by Craig Allen, 21 points.
This photo made me chuckle. The maker captured an unusual duck performance on a gorgeous reflective pond. I say duck performance because it looks like the duck is ready to conduct a symphony of other quackers. The detail of this photo is incredible. Check out the water droplets on the breast of this duck. Wow, the markings on the plumage are beautiful, as is the sharp detail of the wings and face. Even the eyes are in focus. The water reflection in the foreground is visually stunning, and the green foliage in the background is nicely out of focus. I even like the one tiny feather sticking out of the water to the right of the duck. This is probably one of the best duck photos I've ever seen. To the maker of this photo, print it and hang it on your wall.
This is Finding My Wings by Amy Rudowitz, 24 points, second place.
David says, fire and ice. I like this picture. I'm just not sure how to comment. Usually, there is a subject the maker wants to emphasize with leading lines or highlighting the subject, and you can comment on the crop or distractions to clone out. There is none of that. The other thing a photographer can do is try to evoke an emotion. I find this picture calming with the light blues and pinks. If that was your goal, you have succeeded.
This is Fire and Ice by Amy Rudowitz, 21 points. Okay, Jackie says, I find this a bit tricky to know exactly what the maker had in mind to be the subject. You have the sleek black Steinway, the piano keys with their reflection, and the vibrant dahlias in their white vase. I think you have the ingredients to make a good photo, but I think perhaps some compositional changes might improve this. Perhaps experiment with shooting from a lower angle and keeping the lines of the piano level. This semi-tight crop and angle looking down creates tension and also seems to dwarf the size of the piano. I think the location with the piano being close to the back wall creates some depth of field challenges. Preferably the focus on the wall should fall off. So depending on your lens aperture, it may not be possible to do that. If that is the case, I would go much tighter in your composition and work on those wonderful reflections you have with the keys. Maybe even lay the flowers down across the keys. This is Grandma to Granddaughter Gift by Charles Kay, 20 points.
All right, David says, this is an interesting perspective. You did a good job of blurring the tracks as they proceed into the background. There is a little bit of blur on the track in the foreground, and the car on the right is bright and a bit distracting, though not overly so. I would try bringing the crop in a little from the bottom and in from the right. The rust color of the car and the wheel is a little flat, and I'm not sure it adds anything to the photo. I'll let you know ahead of time that I am partial to black and white, but I would suggest trying this in black and white and bringing up the contrast. Play with the sliders and see what you get.
And this is Keeping on Track by George Klepitz, 19 points. Jackie says, I would love to know the title of this image. It really made me chuckle and smile. This meerkat seems to be posing just like the rock structure next to him. Maybe on the lookout for area predators or for photographers. I find his expression and pose engaging. Since you were not able to capture this without cropping off the top of the rock structure, I think I would have cropped it further down and had a bit more space on the left side of the image for him to look into. Nice technical work with your focus and exposure. The light seems to be painting his coat beautifully. And this is entitled Meerkat by Andrew Garoy, 20 points.
What a colorful photo. That yellow bird and its reflection are visually exciting. It is fortunate that you were able to capture the bird's reflection in the water that was clear and not green like the rest of the water. If you would consider it, could you make this beautiful bird, beautiful bird stand out even more if you did a vertical crop so that the bird and its reflection would be the center of attention in your photo. This would eliminate the unnecessary distraction of the large green space on the left and the massive tangled tree branches on the right.
And this is Nature's Mirror by Brittany Wade, 20 points.
David says, beautiful shot of a flower. I see detail in the petals. It is in focus. The crop is nice. I can't see anything I would change. Well done.
And this is Open Yellow Tulip by Wendy Kohler, 24 points, second place. Jackie says, very lovely capture of a difficult subject. Your depth of field has worked to isolate the orchid branch from the background. The blooms in the front all seem to be a nice focus. I don't mind the blooms in the back gradually falling out of focus. I believe this helps to create some nice depth. Your highlights have been well handled. Perhaps a bit of burning at the very low opacity, maybe 6 to 8% where the darks are in the blossoms, would help create more depth and dimension. I really enjoy your composition on this. The gentle curve of the stem and the placement of the subject is well done. And this is entitled Orchids by Rochelle Kovacs, 24 points, second place.
What an incredible tiger portrait. I love black and white photos, especially when they are done so magnificently as this one. When it showed up on my computer screen, it took my breath away. For a successful black and white, it needs to have black blacks and white whites and every tonal range in between. This photo has it all. The head of the tiger is perfectly in focus, and the viewer can see every whisker and hair on its face. The eyes, oh those eyes, are so sharp, and the spectacular highlights captivate the viewer. The body of this tiger is softly out of focus, creating a shallow depth of field. Using a black background was a good choice since it only accentuates the stunning tiger. It is perfectly cropped, leaving enough room for the tiger's head to maintain a commanding presence. Congratulations to the maker of this photo. It is beyond amazing.
And this is Out of the Darkness by Rochelle Kovacs, 24 points, second place.
David says, "This is a beautiful picture of a bird. It is in focus, and I can see detail in the feathers. My only comments are that I might try opening up the crop on top and to the right to give it a little more room to breathe, and so it isn't quite so centered. I would tone down the highlights in the background, which are distracting. Nice depth of field. I like the soft blur in the background."
I am going to slaughter the title of this, but it's Prothonotary Warbler by Craig Allen, 22 points. Okay, Jackie says, "Wow, what an opportunity you had to capture the northern lights from a waterfall location in what looks like Iceland. It appears that you used a wide or ultra-wide lens to take in this large landscape. Images taken with the wide-angle lenses, especially at the widest point, are particularly susceptible to needing a digital lens correction. This image appears to be falling backward. Lightroom and Photoshop and Camera Raw all have good tools try to straighten or lessen some of those effects and bring it back to more like you saw with your eyes. The waterfall and the northern lights here are so dramatic. I actually think I would crop in tighter to really show them off. I would crop the left side of the image, eliminating the left third of the image. The sign isn't adding to your image. I understand you might not be very comfortable working in Lightroom or Photoshop, but I believe that the black chain fence would be pretty easy to remove. Straightening, cropping from the side and bottom, and eliminating that fence would have this go from a travel capture to an amazing piece of art." I don't have any idea how to pronounce this. Seljandos Falls by Jessica Cohen Corrali, 21 points.
Because of the editing style, I'm going to start. I really like the editing done on the man playing the drums and wish that he was the only one in this photo. The strong detail and hard contrast of his face, shirt, and hands are captivating. I could be wrong, but it looks like the tip sign was with the basket on top was added as a composite. In my opinion, it is distracting. The man playing the drums can hold his own in this photo. Would the maker consider removing the tip sign with basket?
This is South Beach from Bus Window by Diane Glatzer, 18 points.
All right, David says, a great capture of a duck. The reflection is super. There's a little too much of the background that doesn't contribute a great deal to the photo. We look at things from left to right. When I can leave a little less on the left and a little more on the right so the subject, when I can, I leave a little less on the left and a little more on the right so the subject has space to move into. I don't know what is on the right, but I would try cropping off some of the left and adding some more to the right and try not to center the duck. Nice capture.
And this is entitled Waterfowl by Jordan Tetzel, 21 points. Jackie says, I think you handled the technical aspects of photography well. Focus, exposure, shutter speed all seem to be appropriately selected. Compositionally, how this is presented, it looks like two different photos. You have the sign pole breaking this image up in two, but this type of capture is more like a record shot. It could serve a purpose perhaps in a travel map, an advertising university circle. I would encourage you to explore a more artistic view or capture, perhaps a change in camera angle or perspective, or maybe wait for a bird to land on the sign. And this is World Class Cleveland by Charles K., 18 points.
Oh, that was mine, but I don't have anything on that one. Is there another page?
Arizona Paradise.
I don't have it on mine.
Uh-oh.
Here, I've got it here.
Okay.
Look at it.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
There. Mine's the next one, so.
Okay. I'll give it right back.
Okay.
Okay. When this photo popped up on my computer, I groaned with envy. I immediately envisioned myself walking through my computer screen, relaxing on one of those floaty chairs in the water and sipping a cool drink as the sun casts the beautiful light around me. It looks like there is even a roaring fire in the fireplace off to the right. One can tell that the maker stopped down the aperture to be able to get the beautiful beams of light coming from the setting sun, and because the photo is in sharp focus from front to back. The exposure is sensational, and the backlighting on the setting sun kisses the tips of the shrubbery with warm light. This photo gives the viewer a sense of peace and serenity. I need to know where the maker shot this because I need to go there now. Gorgeous architecture photo.
And this is Arizona Paradise by Charles K., 22 points.
It's all right.
All right,
Don't
David
worry, it's
says, so the clock is the subject, and I would manage the depth of field to blur the background and bring more emphasis to the clock. The bright light in the background is distracting and could be toned down. It would help the image if someone were walking through the frame to provide some context and help tell a story. It takes a lot of patience sometimes to wait for that moment when the photo comes together.
And the title is Ashland University Clock by Renee Nally, 21 points. You know what? Can I have your sheet?
Yeah,
For some reason, I don't know why these didn't print. Sorry.
it's okay.
Okay, Jackie says, interesting night capture of this Asian lantern or balloon. The colors show very vivid against the black sky. I love the S created by the subject. To even emphasize that more, I would be tempted to clone out those two pieces on the right side of the frame. You have created a lot of impact visually and handled the colors and exposure very well. I obviously can't multitask tonight. This is Asian Festival Dragon by Wendy Kohler, 23 points, third place.
I'm next, right?
Yes.
Is that his? Okay.
Oh my
all right,
God, I'm so
Okay. I got it. Oops.
when you're done.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, this photo was a surprise and pleasant one at that. I love that the maker decided to convert this photo into black and white because it adds such nice detail. The tonal range of this black and white is wonderful. If this photo had been in color, it might have lost its impact due to the greenery in the background. The intimacy between the human and animal is nicely done with the touching of their noses over the barbed wire fence. The reflection in the cow's eye is absolute perfection. Both the cow and young woman are in perfect focus and the background is nicely out of focus. I love this photo. What a great capture.
And this is entitled Boop by Jordan Tetzel, 24 points, second place.
All right, David says, fantastic. The eyes are sharp and draw you in. There is detail in the fur. I like the crop. I wouldn't change a thing.
And this is I Licked It, So It's Mine by Amy Rudowitz, 25 points, first place.
You need this? That's Nancy's.
Oh, okay.
Nancy's got the next one, then I got the one after that.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, the maker of this photo managed to get this bird in perfect focus despite the tree branches in front of it, excuse me. This is not easy to do. The blue sky adds a nice pop of color behind the yellow bird. When we were out in the wild, it is difficult to have the animal life pose as we'd like them to do, and we have to capture them as they are. At least the tree branch in front of the bird is interesting with the white dots on it.
This is Palm Warbler by Craig Allen, 22 points.
I'm sorry.
All right, David says, wonderful picture. The eyes are sharp. There is great detail in the fur. The background complements the dog. I can't find anything to criticize. Great job.
This is Raven by Rochelle Kovacs, 24 points, second place.
I think that's,
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's yours.
mine.
Okay.
Okay.
oops, gotta switch it.
Yikes. Very cool image displaying relationships in size. I wonder if the hammerhead shark even sees the little fish, perhaps a sardine? I very much like the composition. Your exposure is good. The brightest area is just where you want us to look. I do wish the head of the shark was more in focus. I'm wondering if you were in the water diving to capture this or if it's from outside a glass aquarium. Either way, a difficult capture done well. And this is Unusual Friends by Jessica Cohen Corrali, 22 points.
Am I next, or is that?
Yeah, you're next,
Okay.
Nancy.
Whoops. I'm curious as to how the maker of this photo managed to get this fluorescent blue color. I am not an expert with flash photography, but found this photo to be intriguing. I am assuming that your shutter speed was slower in order to get the look of smooth flowing water from within the goblet. The glass looks like it is in sharp focus. I'm assuming that you were using a tripod. This is a beautiful shot, but maybe you might consider cropping this vertically to eliminate so much black space on the left-hand side of this photo. Lovely capture.
This is UV and Tonic by John Fondren, 22 points.
Okay, David says, you can see the joy the dog is having playing with the stick. I would try and bring a little more contrast into the photo. The white snow is a little overwhelming. Try taking it into Lightroom or Camera Raw in Photoshop and take the highlights, shadows, and maybe a little of the blacks down. Then bring the texture and dehaze up some to bring in a little more contrast and some more detail in the snow. Play with the sliders until you get what you like.
And this is entitled Xander and His Stick by George Klepitz, 21 points. And that ends our competition.
I would like to make a couple of comments, okay, if I could. This is a shameless plug for our Photoshop and Lightroom classes. As you can see, a lot of the comments of the judges were crop this, change the exposure here, bring up, play with these sliders and so on. And if you don't know how to do that, we have classes on Lightroom, which starts March 18th, and Photoshop, which starts, I believe, sometime in early April. So those are particular pieces of software that can help you improve your photos, based on the comments you get, and based on just trying to make things different. Just when you try and capture something right out of camera, it's very rare to get a perfect photo. So keep that in mind. If you're interested in either of those classes, check them out on the website and get yourself signed up. I know we've only got a few people signed up for Lightroom, and like I say, that starts about a week from Monday. So, all right, thanks everyone for participating and enjoying the show tonight, the competition tonight. So we'll see you next week.